Number one, I think Alex Karp has maintained his optimism around AIP becoming one of the most transformational products in the world. In that last question, he basically said, we were developing ontologies when no one really understood what they were. People thought we were wacky, crazy. Now AIP is the same product that Foundry was, that Gotham was, that originally got them their name a decade ago, because there is no roadmap. A decade ago, there was no roadmap for how do you build governmental wartime battlefield products, and they figured it out and they did it. It is the same thing with AIP right now, except that can be given to every government institution and every commercial enterprise on the planet. And so if there is no roadmap with how to work for LLMs, and Palantir is creating the roadmap for how to work with LLMs, this may be a gigantic opportunity for them that they're going to be able to capture over the next decade. It's just a question of if we as shareholders believe they'll be able to capture that opportunity. Second thing I want to say is that the financials seem to be in check. I mean, they seem very, very excited about GAAP profitability. We see Karp, who never talks about the stock market or S&P and all this stuff, explicitly saying, I expect to be in the S&P 500. I expect to be eligible for it. And to a response to a shareholder question about financial and fiscal responsibility, his argument was, we're being as fiscally responsible as we can. Interest rates at 5.25%, and we're still generating a profit. And in one more quarter, we're going to be included in the S&P 500. So it seems like they deeply do care with stock-based compensation coming down to be as fiscally responsible as they can. Final thing I'll say here is that overall, the explanation of how AIP is going to penetrate different industries, given Mariana's question about them being in talks with these 300 organizations, seems to be that within the next 12 months, they will have something close to a 70 to 90% close rate on these organizations that really want what Palantir is offering, which is exactly what Dan Ives pretty much said, that this is the only organization that's getting called to implement enterprise AI. And if that is the case, I think Arnie's point that he's been making over the past couple of weeks, that revenue acceleration will happen, even if it's not now, is going to be validated. And ultimately that will lead to increased revenue over the long term. Arnie, what were your raw thoughts on earnings?
But you just anticipated what I was going to say, because my feeling is the thesis that we have been sharing in the last weeks, meaning that Palantir is now focused not much in maximizing the revenues by obtaining from the clients. Palantir is focused exclusively on unlocking the value from the customers is actually true. He said some specific sentences that basically confirmed the continuation of the last earnings call. We have no pricing strategy. We just need to take the whole market. Here again, he said, we have no problem monetizing. We will think of that, meaning that, again, we are focused on unlocking the value. If we unlock value, then customers will be happy to pay. And since we are dealing not with crappy companies, but with leading companies in all the sectors, there will be no problem in basically being paid. Just a little reference to the earnings call from ServiceNow. Also, ServiceNow shared a similar thought regarding their AI products, but they were more specific. ServiceNow said, for each 100 value unlocked, we will monetize something like 10% of it. So we can think of something similar for Palantir, just we don't know exactly at what stage they are. Just as a reference, that number was insightful to have a glance when we see Palantir is able to save 2 billion. Palantir is able to prevent a potential 20 billion fraud. Those are big numbers that give a sense that potentially when Palantir is able to solve such big problems, they can potentially monetize like 10, 20% from that. So overall, I'm happy for the business development. And I would say at every earnings call, my feeling is there is less and less risk on the business. There is only risk on the stock, which is the great position to be, because once you realize that the business risk is actually going down significantly, and we know that not only from GAAP profitability, from the free cash flow, but also the direction of the business is actually very strong. While last year the stock was down, but also that we had some doubts that why are you not aggressive on getting customers? what the hell are you doing that you're not going to all the conferences, you're not organizing conferences? The execution was lacking. That was the impression. So the stock was down, the business was strong on one side, but there was also some perception on the risk. I would say the business risk is definitely decreasing. I think they are executing exactly in the right way. We are just not seeing the manifestation of all the work they have been doing, because basically my gut feeling is they are in the process of delaying the gratification of seeing their revenues exploding to help the customers unlock their value. This means delayed gratification, not that the gratification will not arrive. So,
and look, the best things in life are when you wait for them. The best things in life don't come quick. They take a little time. And I think, if you believe in the long-term story of Palantir, you're correct that it should take us some time to get there. But if we get there eventually, that's what we're looking for at the end of the day.
Absolutely. So right now we need to be calm on the stock. Right now, maybe the stock can be a little bit hot, but if the fundamental story really unfolds, we would have the confidence, at least I speak myself, if once the business questions are done, and I think at this point they are done, for me it is only a matter of stock price. So the more the stock drops, the more happy I am, and that's it. I don't have to worry too much about the business side now.
Adam, your thoughts?
They shifted their whole narrative from talking about, well, this was a couple of quarters ago about Wall Street, and then last 2 or 3 quarters they were talking about the war and how they're changing the fundamentals of warfare and things like that, making the world safe. And now it was all about not even artificial intelligence, but specifically they were talking about LLMs.
Correct.
Look, there's an entire shift in dynamics, and I'm going to answer Chris's. Guys, by the way, Chris is the guy that's in the chat right now. And Chris is saying they didn't address the slowdown. So I'll address the slowdown. And it goes in line with what Arnie was saying right now. The revenue is going to come. The growth is going to come if you believe in the thesis. The thesis is they're rolling out a product that's the hottest thing in commerce right now, right? The hottest thing in business. Artificial intelligence, but specifically LLMs, to be able to make you that much more productive, that much more efficient, that much more leaner, and give you return on your investment. From my understanding, what they're saying is, look, we're going to invest in this. We are going to get to as many businesses as possible. We're going to worry about the revenue later, as long as the adoption is there. We know what people or businesses need before the businesses know they need this specific product. That's what I'm getting from them. Now,
and that's not BS. He's proven that over the past 5 years. That's not hodgepodge.
We
see up the Novartis CEO, one of the 4 largest pharmaceutical companies in the world, literally say 5 years ago, Palantir was helping us develop our data, and now AI for drug discovery makes sense. Go ahead, Adam.
100%. So, look, obviously everybody wants these crazy revenues, but at the same time, they did exactly what they said they were going to do, right? They came in exactly as they said they were going to do. They're pushing their products for home base first. What's home base? Their existing 400 clients or so. After that, those 400 clients are going to do word of mouth to their friends that are also big businesses, and they're going to say, listen, they're saving us a shit ton of money. And especially in these recessionary times, and they're going to be able to expand. That's the thesis. That's not me making some dream up. That's the thesis of Palantir. If it's going to happen or not, you guys can debate. But that's in line with what they were saying the whole time. Also, they're able to grow revenue while operating expenses stay flat, profits going up, so they're able to generate revenue without spending additional money to do so. I mean, it's not a bad quarter. They did okay. And we hopefully see what's going to happen in a year from now. So I'll tell you one thing, exactly like I said that it was going to go up during the call. For the next 6 to 12 months, Wall Street is going to keep pushing Palantir. As long as Palantir can deliver on the numbers with AIP within the next 12 months, they'll be rewarded. If Palantir can't deliver on their numbers in the next 6 to 12 months, Wall Street is going to take a massive shit on Palantir. Until then, they're going to keep pushing them to see if the thesis works out. My opinion.
Yeah, and let me say something real quick, and then Arnie, I'll let you go. Remember, guys, analysts expected, for those that are still here, thank you to 3,700 people for being here. Analysts expected a 14% upside or downside to the stock. The stock is up 3% after hours. Even if the stock was down 5% after hours, it is one of those things as a shareholder on a quarter that was not phenomenal by any sense of the imagination, was not an Nvidia type of quarter, to have the share price actually up after hours. We'll see what happens tomorrow. To me, is a win, because even at this stage, consolidating at 200% up year to date, to me is huge. And that shows that Wall Street is giving some support at these elevated price levels that at 13% year-over-year growth, one could argue is not justified. And so the fact that Wall Street is giving the premium, I agree with Adam that it's not the worst earnings, not the best, but it's something where as a shareholder, you really can't be the most upset about in the world. And obviously we'll see what the stock happens tomorrow. Go ahead, Arnie.
Well, it's just the continuation of the trend we have been seeing. So the direction is the most important thing. Now, obviously, if we saw better results, we would have been happier, obviously, but we can't be sad. Like the company is advancing, the company is building a stronger mode. I think that is clear, but there are some clues that I wanted to underscore that capture my attention. They were talking about very old clients, 10-year clients that are still engaged in conversation on how to expand thanks to AIP. So imagine 10-year clients that are already huge and they want more. That is a very strong signal.
BP is a good example. Company they've been with for 10 years. Yep.
So imagine if you basically sell an AIP license on top of already many Foundry users, and we know that AIP can be basically an AI assistant that can help you not doing one function, but basically all the functions you can do with Foundry. In the same way, Microsoft is trying to push the AI assistant in Word with a surplus subscription. I think AIP would work something like that. But we have also a further important hint from the question Mariana asked, that AIP can be sold as a standalone product, which to my eyes means that within AIP, you can actually build the ontology somehow. And that ontology works just better with Foundry and Gotham. So when you integrate the products, everything just goes even better, but can be sold as a standalone product, which answers the question of how scalable is this product? And the answer is much. And then there are the topics about the network effects, which was something that we started investigating last year, where it was a very premature topic because network effects become relevant when the network actually expand. And the more customers are actually engaged, the more network effects can be spread.
Correct.
We think of each client actually promoting what they have been doing with their suppliers, their customers.
And Arnie, let me say one real quick before you continue. For those that don't understand network effects, think of something like Facebook. The reason Peter Thiel invested $500,000 in Facebook when they had 100,000 users is because he saw the network was growing. And to him, Facebook didn't make $1 until after IPO. I mean, they were unprofitable for a while. But when you got a network of 3 billion people, the money will come. So to Arnie's point about network effects, Palantir being able to solve problems for industries, not individual clients like typical SaaS products, which is why we have forward deployed engineers and why there's a consulting element to it, leads to massive levels of research and development done industry by industry by industry, leading to a network effect of now onboarding tons of new clients in those industries with low R&D, because you spent 2 years or 3 years doing the R&D with a couple of clients initially, and then the network is able to be monetized. And that's something as a shareholder, either you like or you don't. And if you don't like it, this might not be the stock for you. But if you see that vision, and we saw how big Facebook became, right? We saw how big companies become that have ingrown network effects, that might pay dividends in the future. Go ahead, Arnie.
Look, you just made me realize that I was one of those people obsessed with network effects. I explained why the customer count of Palantir should be not thought about they're just customers that consume their product, but they are part of a network. So basically, Palantir is an enterprise network. And the bigger this network becomes, the more valuable it becomes, because clients can interact with each other and with the counterparties they already operate. So the more the network grows, the more snowball effect there is to stimulate further growth. But what I didn't connect, and I would say great job, Amit, was this fact of the network and not monetizing immediately the network at best, which is actually what we have been sharing. So you see,
because remember, if you watch The Social Network, Facebook's CFO wanted ads, and Mark Zuckerberg was like, "But ads aren't cool." And now ads are cool on Facebook because they know how to monetize ads. But in 2007, ads weren't cool, and if they stuffed ads in your face, people wouldn't use Facebook, right?
So you see, when they started monetizing ads, not when they had the pressure, okay, we need to cash in, but when it was the right moment. That connects exactly with what we just said before. They don't want to monetize AIP at the best now. They need people to jump in. By knowing AIP, they realize, oh, I need a better ontology. I need to integrate with Foundry. With Foundry, I can use so many use cases. Well, we'd better use a Foundry for these topics. And then, but let's expand the Foundry. There tells you that once the network is established, then you think of monetizing. What's really beautiful is seeing examples. Well, they said healthcare and transportation are the segments that are growing the best. And casually, they're also the segments where they have the biggest number and the more influential customers. And they also dropped a hint about Japan. In Japan, we know that there is Sompo, who's now actively selling also to its clients, thanks to the JV, but also Fujitsu, who they said is bringing or is talking to 8 new customers. So basically, also Fujitsu is basically helping stimulate the sale of Palantir. So the big question for Palantir is, do you really trust the network is actually becoming more and more valuable? Because if the network is valuable, it is only a matter of time before the monetization function is fully deployed. If you don't trust, then you see an overvalued stock with basically a useless network. So as Antonio helped me see it, it is truly a matter of how you see it. Do you see Palantir as a pure software company that just sells a product, or do you see it as a network? As a pure SaaS, right now is extremely overvalued. If you look at it from a network perspective, you see, okay, maybe the price is not that appealing, but the network they're building is already very valuable and will become exponentially more valuable.
That is correct. And to give a quick example of what we mean by network effects, so it's not hodgepodge to everyone listening, what they've done in healthcare has been a result of network effects. Their upcoming deal, the fact that they even have a chance to get a $500 million deal with the NHS, it's based on the past 7 years of figuring out how to build a healthcare operating system for the modern healthcare institution. There's a great CNBC piece. If you Google CNBC Palantir Healthcare, it's like a 20-minute article of them working for 2 years and failing for 2 years at the Cleveland Clinic and the Tampa Bay General Hospital until they finally figured out how nurses and healthcare administrators would be able to use their software in a meaningful way. They figured it out, and that R&D is now leading them to power 13% of beds in the United States. So that network effect really matters. Oil and gas, airlines with Skynet, that's a whole nother industry. There are a lot of industries in which network effects can work. Adam, go ahead.
Guys, a few things to remember. We have a shit ton of money on hand. We're not going out of business. We have a government business that is pretty much stagnant in a good way, which means we're always generating revenue from government. We have a huge potential to grow our government revenue internationally. This gives us all of the opportunities in the world to grow our products and the network effect, as my colleagues are saying. We have a product, we have a platform that we're introducing. Again, this is the hottest thing in AI, not just AI, LLMs and AI. And I know Chris said that everybody has an LLM. I don't know. Who are these everybody's? I don't know about these every company. It sounds absurd what you said, actually. I have no idea what you're talking about, to be honest. But they have an LLM that they're customizing specifically for your data. They have all the time in the world to actually adopt this and have this to be useful for your specific business and allow it to grow. time is not exactly against us. And like I said, I think Wall Street is going to give us a good 6 to 12 months to see if we can actually develop it. And as per what they're saying, it seems like this is the path that they're going into.
Do you think Wall Street will keep appreciating? I think, well, if I here disclosure, full speculation mode, I think we will reach a moment where Wall Street will be pissed off in saying, okay, come on, monetize now. But maybe, well, I know Wall Street tends to be very impatient. So until it is a couple of quarters, that's fine. But I'm already thinking, what if it is not just a couple of quarters that Palantir is not fully monetizing, because Wall Street wants to see growth. And maybe that could be an opportunity in the future where the company is doing great in terms of acquisition, increasing the network, but the revenues are not just following, and probably, well, again, speculation mode, that will be a moment where the bomb that we have been talking about will be so compressed, the revenues will be just okay, and then Karp says, okay, now we monetize the network.
Yeah, look, eventually this has to be monetized. I don't know when it's going to happen, but to answer your question, Arnie, your question was, at what point is Wall Street going to get tired of it? For some reason, and I have not figured out the answer to this question, I'm going to be doing as much research as possible. Wall Street has not sold off the stock after hours. This was not a earnings to justify, one could argue, the current valuation at $40 billion. 13% year-over-year growth, I think all of us can be, yeah, that's just not enough to justify $40 billion. However, and again, maybe tomorrow everything changes, but Wall Street, after hours, their initial reaction is, no, there is potential. There is hope. This value, I mean, even C3 AI fell like 20% on their earnings. They recovered eventually, but like even on the earnings aftermath, they didn't have the best earnings and they fell. Maybe it's the $1 billion share buyback that's holding it up, whatever it may be. But in terms of not having immediate monetization and that leading to share price decline, at least for today, Wall Street has said, we see potential in your company and we're not going to let it fall yet. But maybe in the future that changes, or maybe it goes up. We'll see. All right. I think that's it for us. We got a lot of catalysts coming up in the future. Titan deal, NHS, S&P 500 inclusion. This earnings kind of felt like it was a nothing burger in the grand scheme of things now that we got the results, and it was just whatever. But it was one of those quarters where we thought it would just get hammered if they barely delivered. They ended up barely delivering, and it has not gotten hammered. And I guess what more can you expect, right? Any closing words, Adam, Arnie?
I had a lot of fun. Thank you, guys. And thank you so much for the entire Palantir community. I think you had more viewers than the actual Palantir channel. Shout out to Ahmed, Arnie, all the other creators, and to every single person in the community. We appreciate you. Like, it means the world to us. Thank you.
I reiterate the big thank you. I'm literally amazed about the quality of the insights and the passion with which we try to understand better. So we may be not perfect. For instance, exactly today, I was bashing on Jeremy thinking, oh, come on, a buyback. I was like, what are you saying? And boom, 1 billion outrises. Like, no. But apart from that, I think in the big scheme of things, like Amit likes to share, we are in the right direction. The stock can be volatile, and volatile stock means opportunity, in my opinion. So keep your nerves hold, and we will enjoy this journey.
Yeah. Last thing I'll say is it is a journey more than anything to me. I know we're all shareholders. We all want to return. But look, life is about the relationships and the people you meet alongside a journey. At the end of the day, we'll all be dead. The stock won't matter. We'll all be in the graveyard. It's going to be irrelevant. What matters is the journey towards having fantastic or magnificent gains in the future. And that involves the people you meet, the relationships you build, and the friends you ultimately have so that you can drink a beer with a friend while you're celebrating your Palantir gains. So I just want to give a big thank you to the 5,000 people who joined, the 2,600 people that are still here. If you're new to Arnie, Adam, or I, we are content creators. We talk about Palantir because we have a unique focus on it, but we also talk about other stocks and ideas that we have in our head. PalantirBullets.com, the best Substack in the world for Palantir, about a weekly, bi-weekly email. Please subscribe to it. It is free. All of our Twitters are in the description. That would mean the world to us if you follow us there. And thank you for giving us your attention. There's a lot of places you could have gave your attention to in regards to mainstream media, and you chose a bunch of retail investors that have been here for 2 years covering what we believe is one of the most exciting and interesting and eclectic companies and CEOs on the planet. And we will continue to cover it and enjoy the process of covering, because this has been one of the most fun journeys of my entire life. And I'm happy to share it with you guys. So thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it. And we'll have another podcast in 45 minutes on this channel. If you're new to this channel, please subscribe. It's called Finance Junkies. We'll have some other people with conflicting views on Palantir give their thoughts, and we'll see you for more increased coverage over the next coming weeks.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
That's it. Bye-bye, everybody. Thank you. Have a great night.